you're young, you want to go move to a foreign country, you want to go travel around, explore other cultures, meet people internationally, I think this video might be for you. Hello to everybody watching this. My name is Stephanie if you're new here, and I'm currently an au pair in Switzerland, living here for free, fresh out of college, 22. I don't know what I'm doing, but all I know is I'm here, so I'm going to talk about how I got here and how I'm doing this because it's super cool. And I posted a day in my life as an au pair video about a week ago, and someone asked, can you talk more about this? I just remember when I first kind of heard the term au pair, I was like, what is this? And I couldn't find a bunch of people talking about it on the internet. This is how I'm in Switzerland right now, and I was an au pair last year as well in Italy. Two totally different experiences, and I feel like I have enough knowledge right now to talk about it and hopefully give some valuable information out there. So let's get started. Okay, so what am I doing? How am I here? What in the world is an au pair? The simplest terms, and I'm gonna read you the actual definition, but an au pair is basically a live-in nanny in a foreign country. But the actual definition of it is a young person that moves to a foreign country, typically a woman. I've met some male au pairs, but it's typically women, to help with childcare and other household duties in exchange for room and board, plus some monthly allowance. It's kind of more of a pocket money because it's not that much money, and other benefits depending on what's in the contract, how long you're doing it for, all that stuff. I don't think this is super common in the United States. It's a lot more common in Europe and Japan, places like that, but I didn't hear about it until 2 years ago on TikTok, and I was like, what in the world is an au pair? This sounds really interesting because I knew I wanted to go live in Europe somehow. Didn't know how, but I knew I wanted to. And this is kind of how I did it. So yes, this is a job, but it's also definitely something where a lot of host parents and families are looking to integrate you as a part of their family and not only work with you, but, you know, share your life experiences with each other, your cultures, all of that stuff. And for me, I think it's the best way to really learn about a culture is when you place yourself in a household of people from that country. That is the best way you're going to experience it. I don't think I ever would have learned so much about Italian culture and other cultures without living with my host family and learning from them every single day and just living life with them. But trust me, like, if I can do this, anybody can do this. It is so much easier than it sounds, and I think it's just scary, the idea of it and getting started and like not knowing what to do. So now we're going to talk about how do you become an au pair. I'm an American and I moved over to Europe, so this is my experience. It's a little bit different with the process and different regulations and everything if you are a European citizen or a UK citizen and you want to go over to Europe, or you want to go over to America, like from Europe. We gotta get a little bit more specific now. How long do we want to stay for? Do we want to do a short-term contract or a long-term contract? So short-term is going to be anywhere from 1 month, 4 weeks to 3 months. And I say 3 months because as an American going over to Europe, you can only be there for 90 days without needing some type of visa. If you're going over to the UK, I think you're good for 6 months, but that would be short term. And then long term is going to be anywhere from 6 months to 1 year or even 2 years, where you're going to need a visa and a lot more important documents to allow you to stay. You're also going to have to decide, what country do I want to go to? You can obviously have, you know, as many countries in mind as you want, but kind of, you know, narrow it down, like, what country do I want to go to? What's the vibe am I looking for? Am I looking for a coastal area? Am I looking for the mountains and nature, or metropolitan city life? Once you have a little rough draft of an idea in your head, you're gonna have to decide where you're gonna find your host family. So you can either go through an au pair agency, where typically you do pay a fee, but they help connect you with families and they kind of get a contract in place and make sure all the legalities and all of that stuff is worked out. And the other option is to just do it yourself and go through a website such as Au Pair World. I know aupair.com is another good website, or Great Au Pair. I used Au Pair World, but that's basically where you do all the work yourself and setting up your profile, finding families yourself, messaging them, and then going forward from there. I think going through a website like that, you have so many more options and opportunities compared to going through an agency. They both have their pros and cons. I honestly think the only con of an agency is that you can't look at all of the families at once and kind of do your own picking and choosing, and you do have to pay a fee. But besides that, I mean, if you want that security and everything, going through an agency and having them help you set up everything is a great option as well. What I also really liked about going through the agency that I went through the first time is they connected me with so many other au pairs in the country and area that I was in, that I was able to meet up with a bunch of them and go traveling, all that stuff. Doing it the other way around, you kind of have to go out of your comfort zone and go out of your way to meet people and make friends, all that stuff. Either way, when you've decided which way you're gonna go and find a host family, you're gonna have to set up a profile. And this is your job resume. Short and simple, it is your job resume. And this is when you're going to sell yourself. You are going to, you know, post pictures, friendly looking pictures of yourself, of kids that you've worked with, and you're gonna list all of your experience babysitting, working with kids, and other, you know, assets that you can bring to their family. Like if you are good at sports, I can teach people how to swim. So like that was a big thing for me. You can cook. If you have any CPR certifications, first aid certifications, any of that type of stuff, you're gonna list all of that on your resume. Another big purpose of you going over to a foreign country is to expose the host family and the children mainly to your mother tongue of language. So for example, I speak English, that is my mother tongue, and you know, the whole goal also of me going over there is to only speak English to the children, to teach them English, get them more familiar with it. Once your profile is done and you are happy with it, you are ready to have it shown to host families. Now the search for the host family begins. So I'd already talked about kind of determining a little bit what you want out of a host family, such as the location and also the amount of kids, the age of kids, the working hours. There are regulations for au pairs for working hours. So typically you're not going to work over 30. I think in the United States it might be 40, but I am not sure. In Europe and Switzerland specifically, I know I can't go over 30 hours. So you're gonna put all your filters in or let the agency know, and then they're gonna just have a bunch of different host families generated to you. That's when I just started looking through all the families, clicking on the profiles, reading, you know, a little bit about them, what they're offering. And if you're interested, you message them your little introduction message. And if not, you just move on and you keep looking. And this is why I think the process could take a little bit longer. So it's nothing to be discouraged about if, you know, it's taking some time to find an au pair, because the family's gonna look to see if you align with what they're looking for, and you're looking to see if the host family is gonna be aligning what you're looking for. So families are either gonna reach out to you, you're either gonna reach out to families, and then you guys are gonna be going back and forth over, you know, message for a bit. And then if you know you think the conversation is flowing, working out, then you can say, hey, do you want to have a video chat? And this is kind of when the interview part of the job is going to start to happen. You're going to meet the family, you're going to talk to them, you might meet the kids, and just talk more about, you know, what you're looking for, and they're going to talk about what they're looking for, what they're offering, pay, accommodation, what your duties are. And if you think that is something that can work for you, you can have, you know, a couple more video chats and, you know, make your decision from there. I know for me personally, when I went through the agency the first time and I was doing my short-term pair, the first host family that they gave me, I aligned with, and we did end up working with each other. But when I was doing my own search, I messaged so many families, and I mean, sometimes it didn't work out. They weren't interested in me, or they're talking to, you know, multiple au pairs at once too, and they decide to pick someone else, or, you know, something feels off in the video chat. I'm like, I don't really know if we are vibing. It took me probably 2-ish months of always looking to find my host family and the people that I wanted to be with for this period of time. Once you find, you know, a family that you connect with and you guys both kind of make the agreement, yes, I want you to come over, yes, I want to work with you, you are going to go forward from there. So if it's with an agency, they are going to start to set up a contract for you guys to, you know, sign and work out the dates and all that stuff, all of the legalities, the duties, the hours, the days, all that stuff. And then if you are going through Au Pair World, a lot of the time that is when an agency does have to get involved in the sense of setting up a contract if it is a long-term au pair agreement. Personally, I do think if you are going to do a short-term au pair experience, it is better to go through an agency, because a lot of the times if you go through Au Pair World and you're doing everything yourself and you want to go over to a foreign country for less than 3 months, the family is not going to want to pay for any type of agency or someone to put together a contract, and it's more of a vocal commitment at that point, which I think could be a little bit riskier, because you never know how a situation is going to play out when you actually get there. But if you are doing more of a long-term au pair contract, I think having all of the options to look through on Au Pair World, for example, is a lot better, because at the end, no matter what, as an American citizen, for example, an agency is going to have to get involved just to get the visa and all of that stuff worked out, which is also going to protect you, but it's not going to be as expensive, and typically you don't have to pay for the agency fee. My first time doing it for 6 weeks in Italy, I did go through an agency just because I was scared and I did not know what to do. I needed the guidance, so I decided to, pay a fee, all that stuff. And they gave me training. They set me up for success and I was all good. So then for my second time, when I did decide that I wanted to do it again, I was like, okay, I have the information now, I have the confidence, I know what to, look for. So I went through Au Pair World and did everything myself. I was going over to Switzerland for a year, so we did go through an agency, and the agency basically took care of everything along with my host parents for getting all of the documents together to go submit to the embassy of that country to apply for a working visa, and that takes some time. I think it took like 3 months or something for me to get my working visa, which was a lot longer than I expected, but that's just how it is. Once I got my working visa, everything was set in stone, my hours, my benefits, all that stuff. After my first experience last summer, I knew that I liked it, and I knew that I wanted to continue to travel, experience other cultures, do this again after I graduated, because I was just like, I don't know what I want to do in my life yet. Like, I need to go experience the world. And I decided that I wanted to do a long-term au pair contract, because my first time flew by so fast. I was in a small little village in Italy. I'm gonna do another video talking about my experiences a little bit more in detail, but what I really like about the long-term au pair contract is you're gonna get paid more and you get more benefits, because you're going to be on a working visa, and that comes with other requirements that the country is going to require of the host family to accommodate you with, and it's different for every country. I just have experience in looking at European countries, but every European country is different with the pay range, with the benefits, the working hours, the time off, the other requirements that you have to, kind of abide by, and what the family has to abide by. I'm gonna say right now, personally, out of like looking at a bunch of the different European countries, Switzerland, Denmark, and the Netherlands are gonna pay you the best, and they're gonna offer the best type of accommodations for au pairs. Spain, Italy, Austria, Greece, you're not gonna get paid a lot. You're gonna be getting less than 100 euros per week. Most of the time it's honestly like 70 or 80, and it's a lot less sustainable, I think, especially for the long term. So I mean, it's important to keep that in mind. They're absolutely beautiful places to live in. It's just not as sustainable. It's good for a short term experience, definitely, but not long term, in my opinion, unless you have lots of savings prior. I just also wanted to be here for a bit longer to get more of a taste of the country that I was living in, because when I was in Italy, it went by so fast, and I felt like I was always going, working, and then on the weekends I was traveling to a different place, and the 6 weeks flew by in what feels like 2 weeks. I feel like I've grown so much. I've learned a lot just about myself and different cultures in the world and people, and I've met so many people from all over the world and had just so many cool conversations and experiences. I've traveled to the most beautiful places that I just cannot even comprehend exist, coming from like the United States, in like a town in Florida. It's been amazing, and I think if you have the chance and the opportunity to do this, you are not sure what you want to do with your life, you're still young, and you have that travel itch in you, this is such a good thing to do. There's a couple other ways to kind of come over to Europe and stay for free, such as doing work volunteer exchange things through something like Worldpackers. Or I definitely think that it was really good that I did the short-term experience first, because I did not know how like I would handle it, you know. I had never really been outside of the country prior to doing this, and I'd never been away from home for so long, so I didn't know if this was something that I would be able to handle. But after doing it for, you know, the first time, I was like, okay, I can do this long term, because it's a really big thing to just kind of move somewhere for a year for the first time, see how it goes. You definitely could do it. But even some of the girls that I met in my first experience au pairing, that we were all doing it short term, some of them realized like, this is not for me. They said it sounded really fun, but they realized it was a lot different once they got there, and that, you know, it wasn't for them, and they definitely would not be able to stay for longer than, you know, however long they were staying. I think some people also could maybe be scared about au pairing, because there are horror stories, and this is not meant to like scare anybody, but I have come across a couple of girls that have not had the best experiences with their host family. Things were different, and it wasn't, you know, what it seemed over the phone. And that's why I think it's really, really important to know and be on the lookout for red flags and green flags when talking to families and doing this whole search process. I don't think you're going to be setting yourself up for success if you just kind of say, yep, I just want to move to Europe. Like, for example, I don't really care about any of the specifics, and you kind of just go with the first family maybe that talks to you. I think that is really setting yourself up for maybe not the best situation. All good things come with time. You can really find a good family, because I've heard more good experiences than bad experiences, but I feel like that's the case in every situation. There's always good and bad experiences. I think an experience like this teaches you so much responsibility too, of navigating a foreign country by yourself, being with yourself, and also taking care of children. Like, taking care of children too, like that's gonna make you kind of grow up, you know, and see things from different perspectives. I definitely want to talk about my experiences more in depth in another video, but just to give a little overview of my two different situations, just for anyone to get a little bit more of a better idea. When I was in Italy for 6 weeks, I was getting 70 euros pocket money every single week, and then I was living there for free, and my food was covered. So I didn't pay for food, I didn't pay for housing, I had my own room and my own bathroom. But the only thing that I did get in addition was 70 euros per week, which is not a lot. When I would go traveling on the weekend, I would spend that plus some more. I also had to pay for my flight there and back. The family did not cover any of it, and I had to pay the agency fee as well. So I definitely did spend a lot of money kind of in that whole experience, but I was doing a lot of traveling in a short period of time too. And also, I didn't know how to travel cheaply. So yeah, lots of mistakes were made, but I learned. In this experience now, with long-term doing it, you know, all by myself, I do honestly think Switzerland, out of all of the European countries, offers the most to au pairs. It's so good. One of the highest pays. I'm definitely making like triple, I want to say triple right now every single month. 50% of my flight was paid for by the host family. The host family paid all of the agency fees to get the contract and get my visa, everything. They paid for all that stuff. I have language classes 100% paid for. 50% of my health care is paid for by them. I pay for my phone bill. Like, adding me to their car insurance, I'm able to use the car. At 4 weeks paid time off, which is amazing throughout the year, that I can kind of take whenever, you know, I decide with the family. I feel like I work pretty much the same amount of hours that I did in both situations, but I do have 3 days off here, which is super cool. That's not typical. I just, with the way like my family is, we just ended up working out 3 days off, and then I work a little bit longer for the 4 days, which I prefer. It's so much more manageable for me. Here I have my own private entrance to the house. I have a bigger room, I have my own bathroom, and like a little common area, which is super, super cool. Everything that has been offered to me in this situation has made it very sustainable for me to stay for a whole year, and I could not be more grateful. This is kind of all just more about the basics. I can go in detail, you know, about every single thing that I talked about, how to set up a profile, questions to ask a host family, green flags, red flags to look for, all that type of stuff in another video if anyone does have questions. But I hope this gave, you know, a good general broad idea of what an au pair is and how to become an au pair. And if you are thinking about becoming one, I think it's super exciting and I'm here to answer any questions. And that is pretty much all that I have for you guys today. So I hope you enjoyed the video and I will see you in the next time. I have so much traveling coming up in the next month. I'm so excited, going to a bunch of different countries, and I will be vlogging everything and posting them on my channel. So like the video and subscribe to follow along because I'm figuring out, I'm trying my best. So